Good morning and a very warm welcome to our Plan B webinar with the provocative title of Get Me Out of Here. Today we'll be joined by 100 plus people. They are coming in thick and fast. I'm Lourens. I'm the country manager for our Holborn offices here in South Africa, and also our new office that we're setting up overseas in Mauritius. We've got some special speakers with us today in our Holborn Pass team. There is a comments box that we've got. Please do fill out the comments on the Q&A a little bit later. I did see one comment pop up already. And so we are joined this morning by Pablo and by Shayne Peacock, our two Holborn Pass members. And they will be talking to us today about a Plan B. So what I thought I would do when addressing people on this particular webinar today is I want to talk about the situation that has happened in South Africa a couple of weeks back. One of the big themes that has happened with South Africa is the fact that we, in a very short space of time, saw how quickly things could get out of control. And the result was that a lot of people had made inquiries to get their money outside of South Africa. A lot of people have made inquiries to look at another country to live, etc. In fact, I think the number is like 1,000% in addition. But before I talk about the situation that happened in South Africa that sort of led up to this, I wanted to come back to what Holborn does as a business. So we are a wealth manager. We manage people's wealth. And the panic that has set in South Africa has meant that Joe Public has not just reached out to a crowd like Holborn, they have reached out to the citizenship by investment crowds that operate all over the world. And there is a difference between a citizenship from investment program with a company that specializes in citizenships by investment versus a wealth manager that has that as part of their portfolio offering. And the reason is quite simple, is our business is to make you more money, our clients. And so whenever we look at citizenship by investment, where most crowds look at the citizenship or residency part, we look at the investment part. And so I will spend just a few minutes today just to talk about property as an investment class for our clients. And then Pablo and Shayne, who are our speakers today, will talk to you about what it is we actually offer. So come the scenario that has been sketched out for many people in South Africa from many years ago is that South Africa is headed in a similar direction to a lot of African countries. And it means that you need to have a plan B, because if we lose control over our military and police, and the rule of law does not exist anymore, if we lose control of our currency and its depreciation, if we lose control in terms of government, and most importantly, if we lose control in the judiciary, then South Africa is headed down a proverbial cliff at some point in the future. And most people want to war chest and stronghold their assets for themselves and their families in the future. And so the citizenship by investment or residency by investment programs become very appealing for most people, but our focus predominantly from the wealth management perspective is the underlying investment. So when you look at investments as an asset class, most investments, most certainly the liquid parts of investment, the unit trust that you might hold, is built on a triangular system where you start at the bottom and then you work your way to the top. It's called the bottom-up management. So very quickly, you take a unit trust, like an Allen Gray unit trust, and you'd start at the bottom and you'd think of the bottom being the company that you deal with. So let's say it's Microsoft. You look at Microsoft, you look at their profitability, you'll look at their CEO, their CFO, you look at the company at the bottom. You'll move a level up on that triangle, and then you look at their competitors. Who do they compete with? Do they take market share away? Do they add market share? You'll look a level up, and you'll look at disruptors in their particular sphere. Is something going to overturn their business? And you work your way to the top of the column, where you then look at governments and what that government can do from a competition commission or from a monopoly perspective, etc. And that's how you build a portfolio once you've ticked all the boxes. In property, you have to reverse that triangle. You have to put the emphasis at the very top. It's called top-down asset management. And so what we do when we look at property is we make sure that the first thing we look at is we start with the government at the very top. So do you have a stable government wherever you buy property? Do you have a stable currency wherever you buy property? Do you have firm and proper property rights? Do you have the protection of property rights? And once you get that done, then you start knowing that when you own assets in South Africa, fixed assets, for example, none of those boxes are ticked at the very top. So I don't care how nice your view is of Table Mountain or how nice the coast is or the bush, etc. If something happens at the very top, the value of your asset is heavily impeded. But just because you can go to the top, you also need to know how to centralize in on a particular city. So if you've got a country with a stable currency, stable government, good property rights, etc., you need to know which city. And cities are predominantly predicated around a few things. Firstly, infrastructure projects that's headed towards there, or a huge influx of population growth in a particular area that's concentrated. And what we typically want to see is the supply and the demand imbalance. So where is the demand the highest and where's the supply the lowest? Then you know that property prices will typically rise. And finally, you want to narrow down not just into a city, but into a neighborhood. And then it is the three words: location, location, location. So if it is for residential areas, for example, you want to make sure that you're close to a school, the right school, close to a transport link to work. If it is a holidaymaker destination, it will be things like the beach or the golf course. So you want to make sure that you narrow out the location, and then you're going to get a particular neighborhood in that particular city, in that particular country. And then finally, you want the right developer in that particular area. Things about solvency. Then we actually do our due diligence on a developer, like how good are they, how long have they been trading, how solvent are they, who's the CEO, who's the CFO, etc. If you do that, you find the proverbial needle in the haystack. So when I do property with my clients, I work on that exact model. So when we, about a year ago, started our Holborn Pass, I was fine with the idea, but the first thing I said is, I want to see the investment case. I want to make sure that I put my clients in investment first, and they get the residency or the citizenship as a bonus. And I can with confidence say, having worked with Shayne and Pablo now for some time with quite a few clients, that is exactly what we do. So you can rest assured that not only will we help you with the best in class in terms of citizenship and residency, with the most qualified team who have been doing this for a very long time, but also you can, with comfort with the wealth managers that you deal with, know that the money that you're going to be invest will actually be an investment, not just a donation to another entity or institution or country, and you'll never see that cash again. So I'll stop right there, and I'm going to introduce our speakers today. We'll start with Pablo. Pablo, if you can start your screen there with us and share things with us. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us from Dubai. And then Shayne, we look forward to seeing you both today. And over to you, and let's hear what you have to say.
Very good. Thanks a lot, Lourens, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Dubai. I think everyone is mainly based in South Africa, so I believe it's good morning there still. So I'm in Dubai, Shayne is in Johannesburg, and I'm going to talk to you for about 20-25 minutes, and I'm going to walk you through, firstly, Holborn Pass, what part of Holborn assets that we are, what citizenship and residency by investment is. We'll start there. We'll have an overview of all the programs that are available, okay, and then we'll focus on the most popular program in South Africa, which is the Portuguese Golden Visa Program. Okay, we'll just go into depth on that, the process, the benefits, and we'll have a special focus on the real estate investment side of things at the different property investment categories in Lisbon, in Algarve, and in Óbidos. Okay, and then we'll open up the Q&A, and yeah, feel free to ask any questions now on the chat or the Q&A function, and we'll do our best to answer them in about 20-25 minutes. So, as a quick introduction to Holborn, as Lourens was saying, we're a global wealth management company. We've got offices in 17 different countries. I'm based in Dubai, where one of our headquarters is, but we've got offices across Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia. And, you know, we have a few different departments. I run one of them, which is Holborn Pass, and we specialize just in investments that give you either citizenship or residency, okay? Shayne is down there in South Africa, and he helps assist any clients down there primarily. Now, a good place to start is to define what citizenship and residency by investment is, and there's about 18 different government programs that we work with, okay? They all work in a similar manner. As an investor, you contribute into that foreign country's economy. Most of the time, it's a real estate investment in the European countries. In the Caribbean countries, it typically is a donation. And then there's some programs that's either a business or investing into funds or investing into bonds, depending on the jurisdiction, okay? If it's a residency by investment program, you'll get a residency card that typically lets you live and work in that particular country. And that can become a passport after a number of years. If it's a citizenship by investment program, that investment will give you a passport essentially straight away, typically within 4 to 6 months, and you're a citizen with full rights from day one. Now, we've received a tremendous amount of inquiries, in the last month, let's say, more than usual from South Africa. And this industry has really ballooned in size since 2011, where typically, citizens of developing countries' economies are looking for safety, are looking for insurance, are looking for a plan B to make sure that if something goes wrong in the home country, that their families are covered and their future is sorted. Okay, so these are the 18 different government programs that we work with. On the left, we've got the 9 citizenship programs. As I said, you can get a passport in any of these countries typically in 4 to 6 months. On the first 6 countries would be the Caribbean countries, okay, and these are good for someone who's looking for an immediate passport, a quick solution, and typically the main benefit is visa-free travel. Okay, these countries can travel to 140, 150 countries visa-free, and essentially gives you global mobility and the ability to go and relocate and live in the Caribbean. Which not that many people would necessarily do, as the healthcare, the infrastructure, isn't the same as in a fully developed country like in the US or Europe, which would be the more popular countries to relocate to. Now, Malta is currently the only EU country that offers their passport for investment, and the price of that, you can see it here, is 800,000 euros donation. Okay, meaning you don't see that money again. But you get that passport in just a year, more or less. Now, the reason Malta is so expensive, and it's a small country, is that you can access the 27 EU countries once you've got that EU passport, meaning you can live in France or in Ireland or in Sweden, not just limited in Malta. So that is the cost of the EU passport if you were to buy it today. In terms of other countries that are available for investment would be Montenegro and Turkey. These aren't part of the EU, so they don't have the benefit of the 27 EU countries. For Turkey, you need to buy a property, $250,000, and you get the passport straight away within 4 months. So it's a very quick and simple program. And in Montenegro, it's a combined investment of a donation and a real estate investment. So typically you're looking at around 400,000 euro mark. So that's on the one side on the passport programs, okay? From South Africa, typically what we want, or what our clients want, is access to healthcare, to infrastructure, and to stability, right? And to a developed country. So we're looking at the EU countries. That's typically the most popular programs in South Africa. So one option, as we said, is the Malta route. The other option is to go via one of the residency programs. Now, with these, whether it's Greece or it's Spain or Portugal, you get a residency card, let's say within 6 to 8 months. And then if you see this first row here, it will take 5 to 10 years for that residency to become a passport. Okay. Now, there's a more important row, which is this one here, which is time to citizenship. Physical stay time for citizenship. So in all these countries, you need to physically relocate for 6 months to 9 months per year for 5 to 10 years to be able to get that EU passport, with the exception of Portugal. Portugal, you only need to spend 5 weeks total in that 5-year period, and that's enough to get that EU passport. So essentially, if we narrow it down, out of all the programs, the quickest is Malta, but the cost is 800,000. From a wealth management point of view, as Lourens was saying, you just need to buy a property in Portugal. There's different property categories, which I'll go into explain in a second. Keep that investment for 5 years, visit Portugal for 5 weeks, and that's enough to be able to get that EU passport, okay? All the other countries that you see here, you need to physically relocate there for the next 5 to 10 years. So for that reason, Portugal is by far the most popular program, and we're going to focus on that today as the most simple way to get that EU passport, that Plan B, sorted out. One thing that's worth noting just here is that all these amounts that you see here, these need to be cash investments, right? You cannot get a mortgage in Portugal. You need to come up with at least this amount, okay? So saying the benefit of having that Portuguese residency, which in 5 years will be a passport, is that it's not only Portugal, it's the 27 countries in the EU where you can potentially go and live, okay? You could go and live in Italy, you could retire to Greece, to Cyprus, to Malta, to the south of France, for example. You could, you or your family members, so for example, your children could work in Germany, in Ireland, in Holland, even in Switzerland. They can actually work with that EU passport. Another reason a lot of people go for Portugal is because they can access, or the kids can access, subsidized European rates for tuition, meaning that you could pay 2,000, 3,000 euros per year for an extremely high quality education in English, in Holland, in Germany, in Ireland, in Spain, instead of paying, £30,000 in the UK or $50,000 per year in the US. So particularly, if you've got 2 or 3 kids, that's $500,000 that you need to come up with for university. So a lot of people do it just for the tuition benefits. And finally, once you've got that EU passport, you can open up a business anywhere in the EU and travel freely to 185 countries, including the US, Canada, Australia. It's the 4th best passport in the world. So in case you haven't been to Portugal, I thought I'd just quickly introduce Portugal. So I'm from Spain, I'm from Madrid. I grew up there, and I used to go to Portugal on holiday all the time. And I was actually there 2 weeks ago. And it really is a fantastic place for many different reasons. On the financial side, it has the lowest cost of living of Western Europe. Okay, it's voted as the most welcoming country for expats in the world. It has the 3rd lowest crime rate of all countries in the world. 70% of the population speak English. Okay, the English in Portugal is miles ahead of the one in Spain, for example. And for 3 years in a row, it's promoted the best retirement destination worldwide. And this is, so for the low cost of living, good weather, the food there is excellent, the seafood, the meat is truly fantastic. I spent a whole week, I don't think I've ever eaten that much in my life. Personally, I rate Portugal incredibly high. And just on all the the world statistics, that they really are up there for a good reason. Portugal incentivizes people to come and live there by lowering their taxes for the first 10 years. And this has been an incredibly successful program. It's called the non-habitual tax regime. And essentially, any foreign income that you bring to Portugal, you'll end up paying between 0 and 5% on pensions, on income, even on dividends. So this alone has attracted many Europeans to stop paying 45% to the government in Sweden of their pension, move to Portugal and pay around 5% for the first 10 years. Additionally, Portugal boasts the 12th best public free healthcare system in the world, which I'm told is comparable to a good private health insurance in South Africa. And you can be treated for cancer, you can be treated for anything, essentially for free in Portugal. Okay, and this benefit, you have it as a resident as well, not just as a citizen. And finally, Portugal has one of the best education systems in the world, which are free for residents and citizens. Okay, so that's just a quick introduction to Portugal. In terms of the Portuguese Golden Visa Programme, this has been going since 2012. It's a very tried and tested program. It's our favorite program. We do about 100 Portuguese Golden Visas per year, to give you an idea. Okay, and out of those 100, I'd say about 25% are South African clients, right? And obviously we've got offices in 17 different countries across the world, so it's a big chunk that are South Africans looking for that security. South Africans in general are the third largest demographic that are doing the Portuguese Golden Visa. Okay, so you probably have friends that have already done it, and essentially you need to make an investment that qualifies for the Golden Visa, and in that application you can include your spouse, you can include your parents on your side and your spouse's side, as long as they're above 65 typically, and kids typically under 21. Above 21 we can make exceptions, so if anyone's got any questions, we can look at that offline or later. So what are the investment options that qualify for the Golden Visa? So currently they're the ones that you're seeing on the screen. The initial category that was introduced was if you invest €500,000 into any property, you will get the Golden Visa in Portugal. Okay. Then in 2017, they introduced another category that if you refurbish a building that's 30 years or older in an urban area, that amount drops to 350,000. And if it's in a low density area, that drops down to 280,000 euros. Okay. Now we specialize in finding, great investments across these three different categories based on our clients' interests. Okay, so we can, depending on your needs and requirements, then we can look at a certain category or another. Real estate accounts for 95% of the Golden Visa investment. There's some other ways you can do it. You can invest into a fund for 350,000 euros. This is a private equity fund. Okay, it's not a mutual fund, so it's quite limited and normally kind of high risk. And the other option is to invest into, just open a bank account and transfer 1 million euros. Now, one of the most important things for anyone that's considering this is the Portuguese Golden Visa law is changing 1st of January 2022. Okay, so residential property will no longer qualify for Golden Visa investment in Lisbon, in Porto, and the coastline. So only the inland areas and Madeira and the Azores will still qualify for residential investment. Okay, so that's one of the changes that is happening. The fund investment is going from 350 to 500,000, and the government, the bank account, that says going from 1 million to 1.5, and investing into an existing business and creating those 5 permanent jobs, that's going from 350 to 500,000 euros. So regulation is tightening considerably. There's a new left-wing government that wants to channel that investment into Portugal for the Golden Visa into the rural areas, the mountainous areas that typically don't receive much investment and that typically are essentially low density. So for anyone who's considering doing the Portuguese Golden Visa program and wants to make a good real estate investment, the time to do it, the cutoff would be September, end of September latest, because by December 31st, we need to have applied to the government for your Golden Visa. And as I'll show you in the process of how to get the golden visa, we need to do powers of attorney, we need to do obtain tax numbers, open bank accounts, essentially purchase a property, wait till that's on the land registry, and then apply to the government. So this is a really important slide. Next year or after September, we will still be able to do the Portuguese Golden Visa program, but the investment case will be in, as I said, the rural areas of Portugal. So in terms of the benefits, say from day one. So say we start working on your application today, 6 to 8 months from now, we'll have the golden visa cards in your hands. Okay, and from that moment, you can live and work in Portugal. You can freely travel across all of Schengen and spend as long as you want across the 26 Schengen countries. You can open up a business in any of the 26 European Schengen countries. And if you move to Portugal, which again, you don't have to, but if you do, you benefit from the discount in taxes for the first 10 years, the free healthcare, access to education. And if you contribute onto a state pension, then you'll have a pension at retirement. Now, your golden visa cards are valid for 2 years. So in year 2 and in year 4, you need to go to Portugal to renew your cards. And because you need to spend a total of 5 weeks in that 5 years, typically we recommend you do 2.5-week holiday in year 2, 2.5-week holiday in year 4, and that's enough to get that Portuguese passport after year 5. So essentially there's 2 conditions to obtain the Portuguese citizenship after year 5. One, you need to visit Portugal for 5 weeks in that 5-year period, as we said. And 2, you need to have a very basic level of Portuguese, which is the A2 language level. Now, the A2 level is not intermediate, it's not advanced, it's a basic level. Essentially, you've got 6 years to worry about it. But all it requires is a little bit of effort to show those ties, to show the connection to Portugal, for you to be able to get the citizenship. Typically, it requires about a couple of hours a week for 2 to 3 months to get to that level. Okay, and you can do courses online. You can do physical courses pretty much wherever you are in the world. So there's a lot of flexibility nowadays, especially. So at this point, you'll have the 4th best passport in the world. Okay, that lets you travel to 185 countries visa free. So anywhere in green is where you can go to visa free. And anywhere in blue, in my opinion, is the biggest benefit, is where you can live, where you can work, where you can study, and have that plan B sorted out. So we help our clients from beginning to end until we get your golden visa cards and until you get your citizenship. We're one point of contact, and we do this day in, day out, right? So we do 100 families per year for the Portuguese golden visa. This is 10% of the global market share. So rest assured, any situation, chances are we've already encountered that before, and we've sorted it out before. So with Zooms, digital signatures, couriers, we're able to get you approved in Portugal without you having to go to Portugal. Okay, so we'll get the tax number, the powers of attorney, we'll open a bank account for you in Portugal. Then you send your money to your Portuguese bank account. The lawyers at the notary public purchase the property on your behalf. And then we help you compile the documents that are required to apply to the government. We certify them, test them, translate them, and apply to the government. 2 months later, you get approved. And then you'd have to come to Portugal to do the biometric strip, fingerprints, photographs. Takes about half a day. Our lawyers accompany you to do it, and that's it. 2 months later, your cards are issued, and your 5 years start counting. Okay, so essentially, we need to be here on step 4, where it says CEF online submission by December 31st, which means we need to have started absolute latest by September, because as you can see, this can easily take a couple of months. And the last thing we want to do is risk clients, investments that by the time we apply to the government, that property doesn't qualify for the golden visa program. So, which is why cutoff is September. And after that, there'll be other projects in the mountainous areas, the rural areas. So in terms of the real estate options, so I introduced the categories before. Typically, to make the best real estate option, at the $500,000 level, you've got all of Portugal to choose from, right? And if you can leverage on anything above the $500,000, then typically that is how to make the best real estate investment, because you're using the bank's money, not just your own. Now, in the other two categories, in categories 2 and 3, typically there's very limited supply. Firstly, because after 1 month, these projects, or month and a half, will no longer qualify for Golden Visa. So no new projects are coming onto the market, because developers clearly don't want to take that risk that, you know, this won't qualify, and if they don't sell it, they'll be stuck with the property for a few months or maybe years. So categories 2 and 3 are essentially Golden Visa properties, right? They are typically packaged solutions whereby a developer will buy an old building in Portugal, okay, sell it to Golden Visa investors. Included in that price of, let's say, 350 or 290 is the refurbishment cost, okay? They will then refurbish the property, make it brand new, rent it out to tenants, pay the investor the rental return, and typically in year 6, they would offer a buyback for the original purchase price, so that the exit strategy is sorted out. Okay, so essentially I'm going to run through 3 options, the 3 best options that we found and that are actually exclusive to us at Holborn Assets in the 3 different categories. So the first one is for anyone who's looking to make, say, the best investment in real estate that they could possibly make in Portugal. Investing in prime real estate in Lisbon, literally on the marina, next to the Lisbon Bridge. I've actually been here. We've sold a couple of apartments in this property, and the area is exceptional. It really is. And in this option, you can invest a minimum of €500,000 to comply with the government requirements for the Golden Visa. And we can mortgage the rest. So for example, we could buy a 2-bedroom apartment for 1.1 million, and capital required would be that €500,000. Okay. Normally mortgages around 2 to 2.5% interest in Portugal. With this property, you own the apartment. It's fully managed by Hyatt Regency, which is the highest level of Hyatt. It's run as a 5-star resort. Okay. And the investor receives 5% rental guarantee for 5 years. So if it's a €1 million property, they're getting 50,000 guaranteed per year for 5 years. And when they go to Portugal, they can actually stay in this 5-star resort in Lisbon. The capital appreciation potential for this project is phenomenal. If we take all the different factors that Lourens was talking about earlier, in terms of government stability, in terms of location and supply and demand, it really doesn't get better than this project. So this is one option on category 1. On category 2, essentially at the €350,000 mark, we're able to offer something that is essentially exclusive only to Holborn Assets. So we can purchase a new 5-star resort. This is a real image. So the image that you're seeing here on the top right is what it currently looks like. And it's a 5-star resort in Óbidos, which is 45 minutes north of Lisbon. And the resort looks down onto its own private golf course and then onto the sea. So you've got golf course views and sea views from the apartments. Now, the minimum investment is €350,000 by law, and you can either buy a studio at 350 or a 1-bedroom at 380 in this ready-built resort, which with no one that's ever lived in it yet, but it's opening now within a month. The hotel's already open, and then it's just the villas here, which are divided into studios and apartments, which is what's opening shortly. Now, the rental return for this property is paid for the entire 5 years. Is paid at the beginning. Okay, so this is a hands-off and hassle-free investment, meaning that you buy the property, you get the rental return up front the entire 5 years. So you're going to get 3% rental return for 5 years. So 15%, €52,000 paid to you typically 2 weeks after you purchase the property. Okay. You can actually stay in your apartment 6 months, sorry, not 6 months, 6 weeks per year. Okay, and I've been to this resort. I've been to the area. It is absolutely beautiful. I've had a coffee just here next to the hotel, the poolside, and the views are phenomenal, and it's so tranquil and peaceful. And it's just one of 3 5-star resorts that are here. There's the Marriott and the West Cliffs resort as well, all in this area. So normally for a new build property, you need to invest €500,000, right? That's the law. But if we go via the fund, and you still have the title deed, so nothing changes for the investor, we're able to lower that down from €500,000 to 350,000. Now, again, we only have this available until September, because after that, the fund is going to go from 350 to €500,000. So, mid to end of September, that's the cutoff date until we can buy new build at 350. After that, it'll be that €500,000 level. Finally, and this is a very common trait in our properties, you get the rental return at the beginning. The capital appreciation, will almost certainly, be very good over the next 6 years. But if you're not so worried about the capital appreciation, or you want to secure your exit strategy once you get your golden visa, the developer offers you a buyback for the original purchase price of 350, 5 to 6 years from now. So, for example, if the property were to depreciate in value, you'd still have guaranteed that entry level of 350. And if it were to appreciate in value, for example, you could choose whether to enforce the buyback or not to. You could say, no, thanks, I'll make the upside, or I'll keep the property, or I'll live in it. That's up to you to decide. So this is option 2 at the 350 level. These are some pictures of the area, which is unbelievably nice. The resort, the private golf area, is actually a PGA golf course. So this year it's been played in all of Portugal. They chose this particular golf course to play. And it was designed by Severiano Ballesteros, my fellow countryman. And the resort itself is designed by Philip Stark, which is, in case you don't know him, is a very famous architect. And these are the villas, which are divided into essentially a 1-bedroom, a studio, a 1-bedroom, and a studio. Okay, so that's option 2. And finally, option 3 would be if you want to keep your costs at a very, very minimum, and you want to invest into the €280,000 category. You need to invest into a project that is a refurbishment of a building that's 30 years or older in a low density category. Now, low density normally means, as we said, in the middle of nowhere, right? It means that in the mountainous areas with less than 100 inhabitants per square kilometer. Where we're able to really add value and that puts us miles ahead of our competition is the location of our low density properties. The Algarve, and in particular Albufeira, which is one of the busiest parts of the Algarve. The Algarve is the southern region of Portugal. I've got a map here, which is the touristy area of Portugal, right? Anyone who wants to go on a beach holiday in Europe, they fly into Faro, okay? They don't fly into Lisbon. And, they'll spend here a couple of weeks per year and enjoy the beaches and the golf courses and the area. So the Algarve is actually a prime location for real estate because that's rented out, 10 months per year. But because people don't live there full time, it actually falls under low density category. So effectively, we have a way of buying prime real estate, but at the €280,000 entry level. Okay. We launched this project 3 weeks ago. I believe we have 2 units as I'm talking to you right now that are available. These are 2 1-bedrooms, €295,000. Okay. Same as with the previous property, which is exclusive to us at Holborn Assets. So is this one. And you get your rental return paid to you at the beginning. And the reason it's paid at the beginning is because there's other costs associated with the golden visa. And typically, say for a family of 3, family of 4, there are about €45,000. So by paying the rental return at the beginning, that helps you offset all the costs, and you pretty much end up at a net cost of 0 and a good investment property which will appreciate over the next 6 years, and you're on target to get that plan B sorted out and the EU citizenship for your family. Okay, so the property already exists. It's this second building here in the middle. It's a 30-year-old building, so it's in need of refurbishment, and then once it's refurbished, the apartments will look like this on the inside. It's a small refurbishment, so this will be done by March next year. And when you go to Portugal, you can stay for 8 to 10 days for free in your apartment in the beautiful area of Albufeira. Just some pictures of the Algarve, because I was there 2 weeks ago. Whether you like golf, whether you just like some of the best beaches in the world. Last year was voted the world's leading beach destination at the World Travel Awards. So they really are phenomenal. And going through these caves, the Benacle Caves, I was here on a kayak actually, and it was a really, really beautiful experience. So hopefully that gives you a good summary of what Plan B solutions are out there. We focus on Portugal today because it's the most popular program in South Africa, and it's a shame that it's changing in say a few months' time. It's obviously a change that we don't want because it's going to seriously affect our business. But the law is the law. So anyone who gets in by December 31st will qualify under the current rules. Anyone after that, it'll be the new rules. So I'll just stop sharing my screen now and hand over to Lourens for the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Pablo. We've had some questions come in on the Q&A already, so I'll just start fielding those. The one thing I will say is I've got a few clients that have had Pablo and Shayne services, and it's been excellent so far. But one of the most important things for everybody to know is when he just shared the option 3. 3 weeks ago, one of our clients in Hong Kong, we had another project that they were wanting to do, and I told them at the time, I said, listen, jump on this and be quick about it. And so we did another project, and I thought maybe he still has a unit or two from the previous project available. Obviously, that one is gone and dusted, and this new project must have launched quite recently, and there's only 2 units left. And so the interest is very much real, not just because of the investment opportunity, but also because Portugal is going into the more expensive price bracket. So anybody who's thinking about doing this, it's sort of the conversation within the day or two with your wife, with your husband, with your kids, with your wealth manager, and make a decision, because much of what you see today will not be around anymore. Traditionally, that used to be the old sales pitch, but right now it's the Portuguese government that have changed their criteria that is causing the huge rush. Normally, I'd say wait until something better comes up, but if you're not in there by September, you will not get into Portugal, and that's the main criteria. Right, let's have a look at some of the questions. So Paul asks, can one rent out investment property in Portugal, and is Porto still an investment option? Shayne, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, thank you very much. The answer is yes. So a lot of our properties that we do are turnkey solutions. So we take that hassle away from you of having to find a resident, having to rent it out yourself. So the properties that Pablo went through, they give you guaranteed returns. So those guaranteed returns are paid up front. So you're not necessarily worrying about whether the property is rented out or not. They take that risk away from you. If you were to buy a property within Porto, however, there are opportunities where you are able to rent them out yourself. Primarily, it's a little bit more of a hassle to do it yourself because of the language, because of the distance, but it is a possibility, yes.
Good. Okay, and another question from Paul is, what is the historic return of the fund investment been? Is that the one, Pablo, that you were talking about in option 2?
Yes, so the fund route typically means investing into a private equity fund or a venture capital fund. What I've shown is an exception to the normal fund route where you're just going through the fund to own a property. So nothing changes. on there, because the returns will be based on that property, on the 15% upfront, and on the capital appreciation on that property. If you wanted to go through a venture capital fund, a normal private equity fund, these are largely untested funds. Maybe they've gone around for 1 year, they've launched now, and it's high risk, right? It's not a mutual fund. So there's very few, if any, that have got a historic return to show.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll also say that if you compare private equity or venture capital to this property that one can go into, if you've got a guaranteed buyback, that is the equivalent of you putting in cash, right? Because cash in, cash out. So my worst case scenario in this example is cash, where my best case scenario could be upside. So I definitely think that that's an excellent idea. Okay, then one from Wayne. Are you allowed to rent out property in the rural areas and then live yourself in the urban area?
I'll take that one. So the answer is yes. So primarily what they do in your sort of rural areas, it changes from a short-term rental base, that of such of the touristic areas, and it becomes more of a long-term rental base. But once you've ultimately got one property that is doing all the right things to be able to get your golden visa, you are able then to buy a secondary property anywhere within Portugal, and you'd be able to not have to worry about your limitations as to cost and everything like that. As long as your original property is in the right specifications to be able to do the 280, the 350, or the 400 or 500, that would be your qualifying property, and you would be able to stay anywhere else.
Good stuff. And one from Nondomiso is, how much on your third option, Pablo, was this the 2-bedroom option?
Yeah, so the 2-bedroom goes for 320. Okay, they're only two bedrooms in that building, and they got sold out. So we don't have any 2 bedrooms available in this case. Now, most of for that property, we're looking at getting the cost down. It's rented out to tourists. It's a very touristic location. So if you could do that at the base price, which is the 295, most of our clients tend to go for that, because you're never really going to go and live in that property. It's just a route to get the citizenship, which is in a good location and gives you a good rental return.
Good stuff. Maybe one for you, Shayne. Chris is asking, are there any plans that involve Australia or New Zealand?
Yeah, so there are, and from a South African aspect, we've always had an affiliation with those 2 countries. So we do have the programs to achieve that. Unfortunately, from a South African point of view, it is quite expensive. So with Australia, it's just actually increased in the last 2 months. So originally, a business visa was costing about 1.5 million Australian dollars. Unfortunately, it's increased to about 2.5 million Australian dollars. And then if you are above the age of 55, your route there would be their significant investor visa, which at the moment is 5 million Australian dollars. It does go into a share portfolio, so same sort of structures as what we would put together with venture capital, bonds, that type of thing. But it is quite a high entry point. With New Zealand, unfortunately, that almost becomes the most expensive program out there. So their entry point is 10 million New Zealand dollars. So it is an option if you're above the age of 45, but it's dependent on each client whether that's the right route for them.
Great. Okay, and then one from Sue. Is the donation option in the Caribbean a total waste of money if one can't afford any EU options? So
it depends on what your ultimate outcome is. If you're looking at a passport and you want to be able to travel and spend your visa free within certain countries, then it's a good option because it's fairly quick. You're looking from a South African point of view. Unfortunately, we have our Home Affairs that comes into play, but you're looking at roughly about 6 months to obtain your physical passport. Certain of the islands offer additional benefits as far as tax goes, as far as education. If you're looking at somewhere like Grenada, for instance, Grenada has one of the top universities in the world as far as medical goes. 1 out of every 10 American doctors qualified on the island. So there's a benefit there. Additionally, somewhere like Grenada also offers what they call an E2 visa, which once you have your citizenship for Grenada, allows you almost a plan B into the US. So by opening up a business within the US, you qualify under the E2 category, and that allows you to live, work, and study within the US going forward. So there are additional benefits to the Caribbean. The main benefit, however, is the speed at everything gets done.
Yeah, agreed. And maybe to further that, so you'd have Grenada on one side with the E2 treaty, which is around $300,000, right? If you want to have that E2 treaty, all costs included between the citizenship and then opening up a business in the US. Another route could also be Antigua, which is, a British Commonwealth, and the Queen is the head of state, and there's a lot of Brits that choose to retire there, for example. That you can do for around maybe $150,000 for 2 people, and it is a very beautiful place, very peaceful place to retire to, for example.
Just something I've just thought of now. The other thing that they have is something called CARICOM. So like the EU, a number of their states have got together, and they have a freedom of movement between. So you are able to do business. If you were to go and live, let's say you were to get an Antigua or one of the Caribbean passports, you do have freedom of movement to move between the islands. And some of your bigger islands like Jamaica form part of it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if you were to move across, you have to stay on that small island. You have a number of different options. There's about 15 to 18 countries which are part of that CARICOM.
Yep.
Okay, and so we got the Q&As are coming in thick and fast. So let's this one from Franco. Is there any truth in the rumor that Italy is going to introduce a new residency program option for South Africans?
Shayne, you want to tackle that one?
Yeah. So about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, there was 2 articles that were released stating that you could receive citizenship within a 12-month period. The answer to that is the Italian government and the Italian embassy in South Africa came out and told it was an absolute lie. Since then, there has been a retraction in that article, and Chaz Everett, the original sort of advertising people, have issued apology letters to everyone involved, and they've retracted all their statements. So the answer is no.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Be wary of these scams. If it sounds too good to be true, it's a scam, right? So 100,000 euros to get the Italian passport, it's just a scam essentially. So we only work with programs that have been going for a good number of years. In the case of Portugal, since 2012, that's tried and tested. It's a government program. It's not like a region. That's also another area to look out for. If like particular regions are talking about some entrepreneurial programs, beware. So we stick to the safe and to the trusted government programs.
Okay, one from Chris. Typically, what could you expect the cost to be to get your citizenship in Portugal from start to finish?
To me, to Shayne?
Shayne, let's hear from you.
So generally speaking, the size of your family obviously becomes quite important. So if you're looking at an average size of about four, which is your average family unit size, you're looking at in total roughly about 340, 350,000 all in. Bearing in mind that's without your rental return. So your rental return does come into play and obviously reduces any of that cost. But if you had to take just your returns away from it, you're looking at about 340, 350,000 euro for the entire 5-year process.
And that includes your property, it includes your cost to the government.
It includes your property, your rentals, your renewals, everything like that, yeah. And that's typically speaking on a 280,000 property.
Okay, gotcha. And so one of our guests are asking, which of these programs, and this is quite important, which of these programs are available to same-sex couples? Pablo, if you want to maybe chime in there.
So the Portuguese one is available for same-sex couples. So and for the other one, I mean, I know the Spanish one is as well, the UK one is as well, and for Greece, for Cyprus, for Malta, I think we have to check specifically.
So generally speaking, for most of your European ones, it is open. I have done a client with the Greece option, so that's mine.
And one from Manish coming out of Singapore. Is there any difference in the criteria process if you're not South African but you're Indian, for example, or any other nationality that's non-EU?
Well, in the case of holding the Indian passport, dual citizenship isn't allowed. So in year 6, when you have 2 options with the Portuguese program. You can keep it as a residency, or you can obtain the citizenship. If you want to obtain the citizenship, then you'd have to go on to the person of Indian origin card, which allows you full access to India. So that would be the criteria, which would only come into play in year 6.
Got it. Shayne, maybe one for you, and we'll have to wrap up with maybe one or two more questions to go in about 5 minutes. So type any more questions in on the box for us. James is asking, should one have all this money in cash up front? So do you have to have all of that in cash, or is there a way that you can stagger it, etc.?
So the answer, the simple answer is yes. Unfortunately, all of it has to be in cash. As far as cash flow goes, you're looking your initial to secure your property and to start the process, you're looking at about 26,000 euro, and then you're staggering. You've got probably 3 to 4 months from that point to be able to settle your property with the additional 300. So you can space it out, but you won't be able to bond it. You can take a larger property, and as long as you're spending the qualifying criteria in cash, the rest can be mortgaged, but in essence, it would need to be a cash investment.
Okay, and then one from Jill. This is, I assume, in order for couples to apply, do you have to be married and living together to apply for Portugal, or can you be proven long-term relationship?
Well, hi, Jill. Hope you're well, first of all. And it can be a long-term relationship. It can be an unmarried partnership. You just need to prove that partnership for at least 2 years. Typically, you need to get either letters from, for example, that you're living together. Maybe you have shared bank accounts, you have a shared property to prove that relationship. So the answer is
Great
yes.
stuff. Okay. Right. One more from Lisa. Who says, if a parent only reaches age 65 in 5 years, will they still qualify for the parental citizenship?
So yes, so parents can be at any age. So you can add your parents on as a dependent at any age. The main criteria there is if they are below the age of 66, we would then need to prove dependency on the main applicant. If they are above the age of 66, then dependency is automatically assumed. So to add them on as a dependent is not an issue. It's just whether the dependency would need to be proved or not. So there's no age limit whatsoever there. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. One last question from Andre, who asks, does age and health play a role?
Short answer is no, assuming you're above 18, which you need to be to apply for the government. It's not like some other countries like Australia or Canada where there is a health requirement. For Portugal, it doesn't matter. We've done this, for example, for our clients who had children, for example, with either a mental illness or with either just a physical illness, and we get them qualified either way. So short answer is no.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Pablo and Shayne, for your insight and for your answers. If any of our clients want to speak to us, and we can happily arrange a meeting with Shayne or with Pablo for you to delve in this some more. So if you need any guidance, just speak to your respective wealth manager, and we'll get you on the line with these guys. They're very, very capable, and you're in good hands. So if you have any questions for them after this webinar, by all means do email them through, and we'll make this webinar available as well for you if you need it. So by all means, let us know if you need any help. Thank you very much, Shayne. Thank you very much, Pablo. And thank you very much, everybody that joined today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.